Hey everyone, welcome back to Automation. So today I decided let's go ahead and do something that has been quite wildly requested. I'm going to be redoing the modular VFR, the zero compression version specifically, but I'm going to be doing it with no turbos. So it's zero compression, or 6-to-1 in this case, with no turbos, and we're not going to have quality sliders on the engine either, so we'll try and get some good settings out of this. I don't know what kind of power we're going to make. Basically, this is just a big tuning video, and then I'm going to try it out later and see how something that has 6-to-1 compression drives without turbos. So I have this open for a reason, just so you can see what's going on. Basically, this is the car. It's got 1330.9 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, currently weighing in at 1,279 kilos. So that's with the turbocharger. Once we take that away, things are going to get different. The overall expense of the car, let's just compare it for fun. It currently is, oh goodness, is that $9.18 million. Yikes. So I went ahead and cloned the car, and the game also crashed. It turns out Automation was using 28 gigs of RAM, which was pretty much all that I have, so it wasn't able to really go anywhere. Needless to say, we're just going to go ahead and use the same engine again. We'll just be tweaking it, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Now I know that it does change things, but we'll just leave it as is. So the engine is a 60-degree V8. Now some people took issue with that being a 60-degree V8 instead of a 90, but for the sake of this testing, it makes a lot more sense to leave it the same. Displacement is going to stay the same, dual overhead cam, all that stuff. All of this stuff internally is going to remain the same as well. First thing we're going to do though, we'll just check once again, compression is all the way down, still 6.0-to-1 ratio, but let's just go to turbos and switch over to naturally aspirated. Well, look at that, 465 horsepower, and we haven't even tuned it yet. That is a ridiculous torque curve. This thing has 453 Newton meters at 600 RPM. That is just crazy. Makes no power, just tons of torque. I almost don't even want to change it. So we have a lot of octane left, in fact 72 octane. This thing could probably run on moonshine, but we'll just leave it. I think it's currently at 100 octane right now. We'll end up changing that most likely. So currently the cam profile is around 14. Again, because we have so much octane to play with, we can mess with that. And because we're not using turbos, it's not going to be as easy to boost that. So we should be able to, I don't know, make something interesting here. You can see the torque curve is changing pretty drastically. The more I raise the cam profile up, the lower it gets here, and the bump is sort of coming over to the end of the curve. I'm not sure that that's a good thing though. I really like having that massive torque at the beginning. So much so that we could probably turn it all the way down and just have ridiculous torque right at the start. Okay, I can already tell you why this is going to be an issue, and it's mostly just because this thing is going to suffer from some serious wheel spin issues, and I can predict that that's going to cause us some problems in the future. Keep in mind as well, this is with a zero quality build, so it's not negative, it's just on the normal zero. Okay, immediately there is something that we can improve. We're currently using short cast headers. Let's jump it on up to race tubular, and immediately we've gained a decent amount of power right there. Still dual exhaust, still max size, and nothing to do in terms of muffling or any emission stuff at all, but I think that's going to be good. Now if I turn this down, actually we do gain power out of that. Seems like having a slightly more restrictive exhaust is going to help. Like, we needed it to be huge last time, but not so much anymore. Unfortunately, that does put a bit of a divot into our torque curve, so it starts a little bit lower, but we also have a little bit more power at the low end. This thing makes good power at the top end, but down low it's got nothing, just all torque. Alright, some things that we can improve over here. So our ignition timing is all the way up, and looking like we can get a little bit more if we took that a little bit better, as well as our RPM, we could probably raise that a little bit more. Some people had questioned me before on why I put the RPM a little bit farther out from the peak power, and that's because we want to sit at that peak power, not just at the peak RPM, because usually once you get up to the top, say in this case it's 7,600, you're going to be revving out the engine, and that's when you shift gears. So if you shift always at peak, you're not going to be staying in peak for as long as you might want to. So it's good to be a little bit over. Maybe not like way up this way. You're not going to want to go down in power as you go up. But if you're closer, say maybe 7,300, that's a little too close. 74, 75 is a good mix. You want to hang in that power band for a while. Okay, because we have a lot of octane to play with, we can also raise up the fuel mixture. This is probably going to end up going pretty high. I mean, this is already quite high as is. We don't really have to do much to tweak this to make it have good power. Like, it already came with good power. We do have the VVL profile as well to deal with. Seems like it can be optimized as well. I'm just going to move it around a little bit. So we can get 602 right here at 70, and then up a little bit higher. Oh, this is getting interesting. So with the VVL profile going up, our power is also raising and our RPM limit is also raising as well. It seems like we can do something about that. This thing does have very high quality components, so that does make sense. Let's just turn this up well, not all the way maybe, but a little bit farther. There we go, that seems to be the sweet spot. 671 horsepower, and remember, 6-to-1 compression, no turbos. Maybe it isn't that much of a challenge. Okay, so comparatively speaking, from what we had to what we have now, we have lost a lot of torque in the mid-range, but we have gained like over 200 horsepower top end, so we're not doing too bad. We still have that instant torque. This thing is almost an electric motor here. No horsepower, just all torque. But anyway, I'm very interested to see how far this can go. So far though, I might even be done with this. There isn't that much that I can do here. Without quality sliders, and without just kind of messing with it for hours and hours trying to make the peak power that I can get, like, this is good. Oh yeah, this is what the engine looks like as well. It's got ITBs, nice chrome exhaust out the side, and this thing is as well transversely planted in that car, so the exhaust comes out the bottom. Not something you normally see with a V8, so it's kind of cool to see. Anyway, let's go on to the car, and then we'll move on to the testing. Alright, so here's the car right here. I don't think I'm going to change too much about this one. I mean, we could probably put it into one of its alternate body styles, but I'm pretty happy with the way that it is. What we can do though, and what we should do, is change the color, as I always generally change the color to denote a different version of the car, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the current setup as it is. It's green with the same color wheels. It's kind of a matte green, but also not really. I don't know, I think the colors are glitching out or something, because this is supposed to be aluminum paint, but either way, yeah, we'll see what it looks like in Beam. It seems like the fixtures have shine, but the car body itself, not so much. Okay, on to the graphs. So we have some important stuff that we need to deal with here. Now, we've lost a lot of top speed, and I'm going to make some changes because of that. Well, obviously, we're going way too far up into, I guess that'd be 6th gear there. Yeah, so we should be fine with that. Wheel spin is fine. Things are, I mean, we'll get to that in a bit. So this car is rear-wheel drive, which does present its own sort of set of challenges. Most of those challenges include wheel spin and keeping the thing on the road, but we should be fine with this amount of power. So like I said, the top speed is good. We're currently still a 6-speed. We could go up to a 7-speed. That wouldn't be a bad thing. We'll see how it goes though. Now we have gone just outside of the line here, so we're going to try to reel this thing back in a little bit. Keeping the tires the same would be advantageous just for the comparison part of this, but I'm going to make concessions. I'm going to try to make it so it fits in the graph properly, as it should, and then it'll be sort of a better comparison between the two. Obviously, one of them has double the power, so it's not really a comparison. I'm honestly just excited to feel that instant torque. I think it's going to be great. So when it comes to the brakes, the graphs don't look great. It's quite odd, actually, how they look. And interestingly enough, the back brakes are, in this case, bigger than the front brakes. More pistons and bigger. Yeah, I'm going to have to adjust some things to figure that one out. Like, leaving the brakes super strong is always an option, but, I mean, we don't want to leave them too big. Otherwise, stopping is going to become even more of a hassle just because we're going to have too much stopping power. Either way, for now, that's going to be fine. I did change the bias a little bit, but it seems to be okay. Okay, we are making good downforce as well. I'm fine with that. We'll end up just leaving this the same. The interior is going to be the same as well. Just basic stuff. And we do have ABS, which is good. Let me see, though. Suspension is where things get interesting, as with all the builds. I think we're going to need to tune this one a little bit. So it tends to oversteer, which is, I guess, what you would suspect from a rear-wheel drive car. It's dipping into that line sort of around 40 kilometers an hour, maybe up to, I guess that would be 60, and then kind of like 78 maybe. It dips back down into the line where we want it to be, and drivability and sportiness is actually quite good. After that though, it just drops off. So we have dropped down a little bit in cost. The car is only $9.01 million, so well within our budget of unlimited money at that point. And looking things over, we have 670.9 horsepower, again, naturally aspirated, 6.1 compression ratio. The green version of this car with massive torque is almost ready to go. I'm going to go back and look at it just a little bit more, and then I think it's time that we send this thing to Beam and see how it does. So I'm happy to announce that this car turned out way better than I thought it did, and my goodness, the sound it makes. Just listen to this. Oh yeah, you can see that thing just like ready to go with the parking brake off. It is ready to go down this track at an accelerated pace, and that's of course what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to drive it, and I'm going to talk about it at the same time. Try to, at least. Sometimes driving and talking doesn't go so hot, but I'm very pleasantly surprised with the way that this turned out. So one thing I like immediately off the bat is that it revs all the way up to almost 8,000 RPM. That is a lot of fun, and we still had a lot of octane to play with at the end of that. Like, I didn't change the 100 octane fuel, and that might make people mad, but it's pretty much impossible to use all of the octane from what I can tell with no turbos if you have like 6-to-1 compression. It seems like it's not going to be able to be used up with this engine style. One thing as well that's good to notice with this is I didn't change the brakes from the last version of the car, so it is still very, very powerful, and it's very tricky to stop properly because of it. I would say that that would be a pretty significant negative to the car, just that it's too good at stopping. But that's almost a good problem to have. A lot of cars that I drive just don't have brakes at all, it seems. So cornering isn't too bad. It is a rear engine car, so I mean the bias is that it has weight back there. That would be why the brakes were so strong, or needing to be so strong for the back. And also wheel spin is primarily, it's in the back because that's where it drives in the back, but it's not too much of an issue because the engine is back there and it keeps the weight down. Yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see how that works out. So I don't remember what test I did for the other car. I probably should have looked it up. Now, I don't think that this one is quite as fast as that one perhaps, but it is still quite a lot of fun. Yeah, so in terms of top speed, we can get up to a pretty good one very quickly. That low end torque, especially at the beginning, is just nuts. As soon as you jump off the line with this car, it just rockets off. It has over 480 Newton meters of torque at 600 RPM. That's idling with that much power. Just insane. I'm honestly not sure I've seen anything like that before, and I wonder if it's actually intended by the automation devs to be that way. We might have found a bit of a glitch in the system with this car. I'm thinking now, like, using this combination, this setup, would make a ridiculous drag car because you have so much low end. Oof. Okay, maybe I should go a little bit slower. But yeah, what I was saying is if you had that much low-end torque, goodness, this thing is blasting in my ears, but if we had that much low-end torque in the drag racing showcase that I did, the all-out drag race showcase, somebody could make a car like this with all-wheel drive and maybe a bit of a better engine setup for drag, but using the same sort of idea and just having crazy power off the line. Again, I'm not sure if this is an exploit or if it's something that's intended to be this way. Now, people said it would be a challenge to get a good horse-powered car out of this. Of course, this thing is $9 million in automation currency, so it's probably not living up to its cost expectation in terms of power. And also one thing to consider is I didn't even raise the quality sliders in the engine, so everything is still a normal 0. I think if I raise those up, I could definitely get a lot more power out of this thing. Now, I want to give a demonstration here. I'm going to just go crazy on the throttle all the way down around this corner and out onto this straight. We're going to go as hard as we can up until a certain point. I'm going to show you how powerful the brakes are on this car by basically locking them. So we're up to 200. Oh no, I'm going to screw it up now, aren't I? But we're up to, let's just say 200 and something kilometers an hour. We'll go down to the 200 line and just on the brakes, which are again huge, this thing will stop dead much quicker than any car that I've tested so far. It's just crazy. So I got kind of curious, how fast is this thing on the drag strip? Can we beat any of the times that I have on the leaderboard? I've got a lot of 6.5s up there. I might not be able to do it with this, but I'm sure that I can do something good. I'm very interested to see, again, if somebody can purpose build this kind of engine. No compression, no turbos. What can you do with it? Alright, here we go. I'm using the time trial version just because I have a hard time with the in-map version at times, just getting it to work properly, sometimes having to reset the game, but let's just go ahead and start this thing off. We'll do a couple runs and see what kind of times I can get with it, and then for fun, we'll try the other version of this thing. We'll try the turbo version that has double the power, and see if that thing can also do good times. I'm guessing they'll actually be similar despite the double power difference. Anyway, let's take this thing off, see what we can do with it. Alright, here we go. Rev it all the way up to 1, and this thing is a sequential as well, so I do have to shift every gear, of course. Now, we had really good traction off the line, as you would suspect. That is a 9.346 on my first attempt. Not too bad, but I think I can do better than that. Alright, attempt 2, going pretty good so far. This thing has so much power that you can run through first gear, all in the wheel spin, and then only really needing to get up to 4th to get up onto the end of the drag strip. That is the fastest time I've done, 9.251. I'm going to do it a couple more times and see if I can do any better than that. Alright, seems like the fastest I could get was that 9.251. Let's go ahead and change the configuration and we'll pop in the classic version of this car, not the Bugo version, which is right here. That's powered by a 27 horsepower engine, so I don't think it's going to do much. But the modular VFR, zero compression, but twin turbo. Let's see if this thing even compares. Alright, so you'll probably remember this car, as I talked about it before, and also it has its own video. This thing is supposed to be silver, but it looks white. Don't know exactly what happened there, but let's give it a try down the drag strip. Very similar setup, a lot less RPM overall, but twin turbos still. I can't remember if this thing is all-wheel drive or not, but that does make a pretty big difference. It's very likely rear. Ooh, 8.8, goodness. Well, they're within 0.4 seconds of each other there, so that's not too bad overall. Let me give this thing another shot, see if I can do better than an 8.8. This one builds revs a lot slower. Obviously it's got boost to contend with. It does a bit of a wheelie off the line as well, which is not exactly helping its times. I don't know if this one... Yeah, that one was not better. Let me see if I can do any better than that. Yeah, it seems like I can't do better than that time I had before. They're within 0.4 seconds of each other. This one definitely struggles a lot off the line in comparison. So let's just go back into free roam here and try and stop. Probably not gonna... Oh, hey, we actually managed to live. So I'm here at the Hirochi Raceway. Basically, I'm just going to take it for a lap around here. We'll just pick a route and go for it. Yeah, I'm just interested to see how this thing drives under different conditions and in different circumstances. It's just kind of cool to see different ways that it can be used, basically. I don't know. It's a purpose-built race car. Like the modular VFR. In VFR, that means vehicle for racing. It's just a car that's meant for a test bed and nothing else. And I've kind of been using it like that, but one thing, like back when I made this car, I wasn't sure that I would end up actually using it the way that I am, but I'm happy that I am. Like, it's fun to just kind of design these little challenges like no compression, and then again adding to that with the no turbos thing. It's cool to see the results, and I guess it kind of, I don't know, it's maybe a bit informative for those who want to build engines of their own, because now you know, no compression with no turbos has really good low-end torque. Not something you would have thought of before, I would guess. Unless, of course, it's something that happens in real life, and I'm just completely out of it in terms of that. Believe it or not, spoiler alert, not really. I don't know too much about engines, other than what goes on in automation. I mean, I've never built an engine in real life for anything like that, but I do desire to work on cars. Some people like to think that when you get one thing wrong that you know nothing about cars, and that's just simply not the case. It might not be my area of expertise, which in this case is engines, unfortunately. Well, I did one lap of the track, kind of going in a random direction. Car behaves pretty well. Rear-wheel drive is tough, I will say that, and the brakes being so strong is also tough because as soon as you put them down, this thing just starts smoking. It would be a serious challenge to drive this without ABS. I'm very happy that I remembered to put that on because goodness, we have experienced that in the past. I remember I made a race car a long time ago, which had max size brakes. It was 6-piston carbon ceramic brakes, and my goodness, they could stop that car quick, but there was no ABS, so yeah, it was like sliding on ice every time you wanted to round a corner. It was a little bit bad. Needless to say, I have learned a little bit since then. I have grown up a little bit in the world of building, and then now we have something that's a little bit more controllable with the same sort of style. Oh yeah, I will do a max brakes build at some point. Just the biggest size brakes, 6-piston carbon ceramic, and then I don't know, we'll try something with that. No idea what I'm gonna do yet. So I was trying to think when I was driving this car around that last lap, like what do I have that I can compare this to in terms of odd builds, but around the same horsepower, around the same body style, and maybe weight as well. Because certain body styles are obviously faster, obviously power to weight ratio is important. Again, I'm just picking a different route every time I go around here on the Hirochi Raceway. But I'm not sure I have anything that really compares to this. Like, it's a very odd combination, and it's just kind of cool in its own right. And I'm just, I don't know, kind of happy I discovered it. Oh goodness, looks like I'm not going to be able to stop fast enough. Unfortunately, we have found this car's major weakness. It's sand. It has no ground clearance, so pretty easy to get stuck. At least I know what car I wouldn't take to the desert. So this is kind of a stupid challenge. I was thinking that this new car that we've just made has some really good low-end torque, so why don't we try and do some wheel spins with it? And then I remembered that I made a Bemero, which is this one right here, specifically designed to do wheel spins. It's even got locking diffs so you can lock all the wheels together and then do just the maddest burnouts and, well, donuts ever. As we also have this giant skid pad here, which is pretty much perfect for it. Why don't we go ahead and have ourselves a bit of a competition? You have to vote in the comments though, which car do you think did it better, or is it down to my driving or something like that. But I'm just going to run around here for a bit with both of these cars, and then I don't know. Okay, starting this thing up, let's go ahead and try with the rear wheel drive spins first. Now, this car can do a wheel spin, or a burnout I guess, without even trying. It's just made for it, and that's its entire purpose. Now it is going to get hot, but you know what, it's not a big deal. This thing has 3,300 horsepower and very thin wheels with off-road spec tires, so this is kind of what it was made for. I think you can see what I'm trying to do here. Oh wow, okay, one thing I did not really think about was the fact that it does have a dual clutch transmission, which is not exactly helping. But let's go ahead and just try to do something with it. Yeah, if we hold down the brakes a little bit, we can basically get ourselves into a spin. It does not like to do much though, I will tell you that much. Alright, I think I discovered why. I locked the rear diff. Let's go again, see if we can put some 11s down. Just build up the boost and take off. There we go, that's a little bit better now, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to see. A little bit off the skid pad, but hey, it's all relative here. Apparently these are not destructible. Forgot it's BeamNG and not Forza. Oh yeah, here we go. This is what I wanted to see. You know, the Bemero almost looks better without the wing on the back, now that I'm looking at it. Probably could have taken it off for this car. Might actually help with its wheel spin abilities. Can't believe I didn't think about that before. And one last one, this is for all you aspiring Australian burnout addicts out there. Let's rev this thing up to 8,000 RPM, shift into drive, and do an all-wheel burnout. Oh man, this is turning out way worse than I imagined. There we go, this is exactly what I wanted to see. Let's draw a couple of figure eights on the ground and get into a death spin so significant that the game cannot handle it. Now this is what I'm talking about. I think I did this before as well, and I probably broke the game. Oh yeah, that was good. That was a really good final send. So this car is finished up with stuff sticking out of it, no front wheels, and a whole lot of death going on. I did have to reset it a few times, but here we are. That was the Bemero's run. Now this car completely untested in this regard. Obviously that one over there was made for it, but let's just go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, let's get over to this corner of the skid pad over here. Now we do have an advantage in that we have a manual transmission, so now we can pick the gears as we please. Oh, that's not too bad. We can't do the all-wheel drive burnouts, but we can do some sweet rear-wheel drive ones. Can we paint a thick 11s on this skid pad? And it seems like the answer is a definite yes. Okay, one thing I will say is this car is definitely a lot more controllable when doing this. We do have an electric LSD instead of an open one, which is what we were dealing with at the beginning with the Vomero, as it's got manual lockers, I believe. I did that on purpose, just so we can lock everything up and, I don't know, have some fun with that. I guess I need to make the BeamNG setting for leaving the tire tracks a little bit longer, because I'd definitely like to see this skid pad just covered in them. Okay, so I'm interested to see, we can spin pretty easily with first gear. Can we spin? Okay, we can spin in second, but the car is overheating. It's gonna be a full send here today. Okay, up into third. Ooh. No, we don't have enough power to spin in third. Let's keep on going in second then. Seems to be working out pretty well for us. Oh yeah, this is some Tokyo drift now if I've ever seen it. I'm kind of hoping the car itself explodes in a giant puff of smoke. Let's go into a cinematic view here. Oh yeah, there we go, Drift King. Okay, this car is surprisingly resilient for something that doesn't have plus 15 quality and everything, as I'm basically just spinning around constantly, and oh, never mind, it's slowly going. We're losing steam here, literally out the back. Oh yeah, that was good. That was well worth it. I love to see the blue smoke coming out of this thing. Not in real life, obviously, but it actually comes out of the vents on the top too, which is just really cool. Glad I put those there. And even with damaged piston rings, this thing still has a good amount of power. It's just fun to take it out for a bit of a spin here and there. So let me know what you thought of those runs. And I think that's going to be it for this video. Well, we have one car with no front wheels and something sticking out of the hood, and then we have another car that is drastically damaged and the engine's going to need to be rebuilt. But that is it for this video. It's been fun to try out something a bit different. I didn't really have any ideas on what to do with it though, so let me know what you think I should try with it in the comments. We may try and make a modular VFR in a slightly different variant with the same engine. I think that'd be kind of cool. But anyway, we can also use that same engine in something like the Vomero. We can transplant it instead of its current V10 or 12, something like that in there. One of those is hiding underneath the hood of that car at all times. But anyway, it's just fun to re-explore these topics. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you again next week. Hey, don't go too far now. I've still got some people that I want to thank. These are the people who hit the join button, and they also support me in that way. We've got Canadian Steel, Slow Fried Chicken 69, Overlord, Dr. Ivo, That Riced Out Explorer, QT Bear, Crypt Panzer, Justin, and James. Thank you for your support. I appreciate all of you a lot, and I just wanted to say to everybody else, if you made it this far into the video and you actually like what you're watching, you should subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep making videos like this and some other ones that I have down the pipeline. I've got some interesting ideas and a lot of interesting content hopefully coming up, so you'll want to stick around. Anyways, see you again next week.